And hello, Savannah. Thanks for having tuned into WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with Global Soul. And welcome to this Wednesday afternoon again. I am really glad I'm here. This is Julia M. Spencer. You have just tuned into Real Estate Real Talk with myself. And this is a show where we talk about anything and everything related to real estate investing, landlord laws, and anything and everything that you need to know about real estate. So for today's show, I was thinking, actually, I'm still thinking what we're going to do this show on. What are we going to talk about today? And it occurred to me that the question is not what should we make this show about, what should we not make this show about, because there's so much going on right now. So I picked a couple of topics that we're going to talk about, and hopefully you'll find them sort of kind of entertaining. There are a little bit backstories to everything. There's a bunch of stuff happening in the real estate world at the moment. But I wanted to start us off with a little bit of an educational kind of theme. And the reason I'm doing this is because we are actually right in the middle of hurricane season here. And it looks like we are, I'm just checking here. We're not recording, so I'm going to have to start over here. But in any case, we are right in the middle of hurricane season. We have a hurricane sitting out there in the Atlantic, Hurricane Florence. Supposedly, it looks like in any case that it's not heading our way. And that's, of course, a hopeful, but it's kind of sort of turning a little bit to the western side versus completely north like we thought it was going to go. So it's kind of important that maybe I talk a little bit about some of the things that you can do to protect your property, or even kind of like pre-think how to protect your property, your real estate, for natural disasters. And for that purpose, I actually went through my YouTube channel here earlier today and looked for some videos that I've recorded in the past that are related to hurricane and preparing for hurricanes. And I found this one. It's actually called Real Estate Investor Advice Regarding Hurricanes in Florida. It does apply to really Georgia or any other state. It's just I happened to have been in Florida at the time when I recorded this. And this video is a little bit old, actually. It is, when did I post this? 2015, so it's been a while. And we were also right there, right in the middle of hurricane season then. But I think it would be very good for you guys to listen to this video right after I play you this introduction song here. Like, as you know, whenever I host my show, I try to play a couple of break songs here. And this is one I've been listening to for the last couple of days, Book of Love. Book of Love, Felix Jan, featuring Paulina. Some romantic EDM ballad here. And my name is Julia M. Spencer. I'm here with Real Estate Real Talk that you're listening to. Thank you for having tuned in. And today's show, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice about hurricanes, regarding hurricanes, how you can maybe protect your property if you own real estate, but also maybe like to pre-think in the future if you're living in a hurricane-prone area, what kinds of properties you should get into and which ones you should probably avoid. And for that, I resurrected this old video I have on YouTube there. It's called Real Estate Investor Advice Regarding Hurricanes in Florida. It applies really to Georgia or any other state that's affected by a hurricane. So I'm going to go ahead and play that for you right now. I am Julia M. Spencer, real estate advisor, investor, and enthusiast. And I'm walking through a Florida neighborhood looking at the houses, as I always do when I'm on vacation or not. And one of the things that are important to notice when you're investing in real estate in Florida is obviously how close are you located to any kind of areas that are hurricane prone. Obviously Florida, very low-lying country, very high prone for hurricanes, and one of the things that you have to watch is the construction of your house, or the house that you're investing, or if you're flipping, or if you're building, how you set up your house. So I'm walking through this neighborhood a little bit. I'm checking out the houses. As you can see, a lot of these houses are built low, which is good. That kind of reduces the risk of flooding. well, I'm sorry, actually that does not reduce the risk of flooding. Actually, if you want to prevent flooding that occurs with a hurricane, you want to have your house elevated. A lot of these houses are low-lying, single-story, ranch kind of houses in this neighborhood, so they're not very high. So I think the construction builders' goal was to avoid having too much windfall on these houses. So they built them really low, but there's actually kind of like, okay, I'm going to take this back, but because there's actually no set way of how to build a house to make it make it hurricane proof, and that it remains standing in a hurricane. Because in the hurricane, you just never know what side, what direction the hurricane's winds are coming from. Also, they switch direction halfway through. So there's no really one set way of how to build a house to make it 100% hurricane proof. However, there's a couple of things that you can look at when you're investing or building to make your house more hurricane proof that have been proven by researchers. And one of the things, of course, in a hurricane, you have to watch for flooding. So if you can build a house that is elevated, that will prevent the bottom floor of flooding. Of course, also always make sure you have flood insurance no matter what. The other thing is, if you have a house that is a square structure, better yet, an octagonal structure or a structure with 6 or 8 sides, that would be the best. The roof, you want to make sure that the roof has several panels, not just 2. Because this is important because a lot of times the roofs are attached to the remaining existing structure by staples or maybe small roof nails. And what will happen in a hurricane if a roof, and especially if it's a large roof like 2-panel gable roof, which are more common, if that kind of roof gets lifted, which usually the winds are uplifting, what will happen is that the whole entire house will go with it. And so you want to make sure that the panels of your roof are more than 4, or at least 4, not just 2, and which is a little bit difficult because it's a little bit more expensive to build roofs that way. And most are gable roofs with just two panes, and that will make it, of course, not as resistant to hurricane winds. The other thing to think about when looking at construction for hurricanes is a lot of the winds in hurricanes are uplifting winds. They're coming from the bottom and lifting. So you want to make sure that the house roof itself doesn't stick over the edge more than 20 inches. That's kind of the recommendation. Of course, if you have porches where the roof is sticking way out, that is going to be a threat for having the roof lifted up and blown away, as well as the remainder of your house also being blown away. And that was my video on some advice that I had recorded a while back. Real estate investor advice regarding hurricanes in Florida is the name of that video. It's actually there on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing if you like. I kind of just picked a little excerpt and just kind of giving you some information of some of the things that you can apply maybe in your investing life, or maybe if you own property, to protect your property when there's a hurricane looming, as it is right now out there in the Atlantic. And hopefully that was useful. Other advice, of course, I had mentioned it in the video also, flood insurance, always a good thing to have. Now, the way it works here in the state of Georgia, or actually specifically here in Chatham County in terms of flood insurance, is that if you own property and your property is located in a designated flood zone, your mortgage company, if you have a mortgage, is going to require for you to have flood insurance. And I think I can make a whole show about insurances in general. I want to just talk really briefly about flood insurance. It's actually a separate policy. It's separate from your homeowner's insurance or, any kind of other insurance that you may have. You may have a warranty on your appliances and your systems in the house, which I have on all my properties as well. And it's completely separate, and it covers only flood. And basically it covers in any event when properties are basically coming under a lot of water, like in a hurricane, but also any other kind of flood, flash flood or anything like that, and where the water rises from below. And mind you, your homeowner's insurance does not cover any water that comes from below. So if you do think that you might be in the flood zone, you might want to consider checking out flood insurance for your property. The thing is with flood insurance, that even don't start going out to an insurance agent right now and say, hey, there's a hurricane out there in the middle of the Atlantic. I don't have flood insurance. I want to buy some flood insurance now. That way, if my house gets blown away in the next 2-3 days, I'm covered. It doesn't work that way. Most times when you sign up for an insurance and you sign all the paperwork and make the payment and everything, you have kind of like a 30-day grace period where the insurance doesn't cover anything until 30 days from that point on. So you wouldn't be covered even if you went and bought some right now. But this is something to think about preemptively. And most definitely for this hurricane season, you might be covered, maybe for the next one that actually will be heading straight for us or something. Hopefully not. Knock on wood here. But definitely something to consider to get flood insurance. Now, let's talk a little bit about these flood zone maps. You can actually look them up if you go on any kind of search engine and basically search for flood zones or flood maps for Chatham County. You can actually pull up those maps and you can see exactly and pinpoint where, if your property is located within a flood zone. And the cool thing, I haven't looked at them in a while, but this is from my memory here. And you can actually see when was the last time that any specific area was flooded. So it will actually have some sort of date on there, as like this hasn't been flooded in 200 years or maybe 50 years or something. So this is really cool. And anybody that works at that department here in Chatham County, feel free to correct me. You can always reach me at realestate@juliamspencer.com and send any corrections to anything I say here on the show. And these are based on my opinions and my expertise and knowledge. And of course, it's not always perfect. But you can basically see whether or not your property is located in a designated flood zone. And if the mortgage company, of course, they're very diligent about checking and making sure that your property stays safe and that you pay your taxes. And they will also check if your property is located in a flood zone. And if you are, you might be required to purchase flood insurance. Flood insurance is then basically added to your to an expense on your escrow account on the mortgage. So it will be distributed not from you directly, but it will be calculated into your monthly payment that the mortgage company collects, and they will pay that for you on your behalf. In the state of Georgia, it happens that way because here in Georgia, we have escrow accounts. There's other states in the United States where escrow accounts are not necessarily required to be held up with a mortgage. So in those states, you'll be basically required to pay that on your own. Now, if you do not have a mortgage and you basically own your property outright, then of course, nobody's going to be collecting anything from you. You kind of have to do this due diligence and make these steps yourself to research flood insurance companies and evaluate plans and make those payments yourself out of your own pocket. And I do definitely recommend that. Now, what happens if there is a flood? After the flood, of course, insurance adjusters are very busy people, and they're actually very diligent. These are usually, and I need to actually bring an adjuster here on the show sometime. I actually know several, so I need to definitely make a point to do that here very soon. But what basically happens, they come on, they get these phone calls, individual adjusters from the insurance companies, and then they go out and basically look and check out the damage that you have. And they will at that point also determine whether it was damage that was caused by a flood or if it's something that's covered under your homeowner's insurance plan. And they'll write you down an evaluation and give you information on that, which is really good because they're actually very quick. Sometimes within 24 hours, 48 hours, you got somebody and you got a determination. They're also very good about coming up with estimates of how much it would cost to repair something. So you, as the person that maybe has some damages, doesn't have to go out and try to find a contractor to give you an estimate, which right there might take quite some time to begin with. And in any case, they will also recommend what you can do to remedy the immediate situation if there's any kind of danger or any kind of possibility that the damages might increase if there is not a certain action that is taken immediately. So that being said, that would be pretty much my advice on hurricanes and flood insurance. I hope everybody stays safe out there and takes the precautions that are necessary to protect not just your property, of course, but also yourself, and get out of harm's way while you can. We're all kind of sitting tight here in Chatham County, not really going anywhere. Schools aren't canceled yet. So, we'll see what happens here in the next couple days. And we are not quite yet at the half point here with Real Estate Real Talk. So I'm going to go ahead and play you some more entertaining music. And I will be right back after this song. WRUU listeners like you crave exploration and discovery. That's how we can offer your business or organization a unique way to separate your name from the clutter inherent in commercial radio advertising. Underwriting on non-commercial WRUU will make your name stand out because we allow only a limited number of sponsorships per hour. And your message will be reaching listeners who are actively engaged in programs that demand their attention. Let our team build a customized plan to meet your marketing goals by linking your name to our unique music and talk programs. For more information, email underwriting@wruu.org.
WRUU 107.5 FM is all volunteer community radio. Tune in this afternoon. From 3 to 4, Rob Hessler and David Laughlin present Art on the Air, an interview program dedicated to the visual arts in Savannah. From 4 to 6, Louis Clausey and Matthew Adams present That Old Savannah Magic, a variety show featuring Savannah history, radio theater, interviews, and music. From 6 to 7, Barbara Humphreys and Albert Strickland present Voices of Resistance, giving voice to justice and peace activists with no other voice in the Savannah media. Find our full schedule at wruu.org.
The League of Women Voters of Coastal Georgia will present Courts 101. District Attorney Meg Heap and former District Attorney Spencer Lawton Jr. will talk about a court-related proposed state constitutional amendment and other issues concerning justice and law. The event will take place on Thursday, September 13th at 7 p.m. at the Jewish Educational Alliance on Abercorn Street in Savannah. For more information, visit lwvcga.org.
And welcome back to Real Estate Real Talk here with Julia M. Spencer on this Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for having tuned into WRUU. And happy Wednesday to you all. And on today's episode of the show, we're talking about hurricanes, some of the things you can protect yourself from if you own real estate or have property, and what you can do to protect that basically in the case of a hurricane. And also we've talked a little bit about the importance of flood insurance. Now, if you missed the first half of the show, you can always go to wruu.org, and the archived shows there are there under the archives, under schedule. Just go to Wednesdays. My show is on from 12 until 1 p.m. on Wednesdays, and you can basically just listen to all the old shows that I've published there. And this one as well will be up there in due time. And of course, if you want a copy prior to me putting it out there on the website, you can also always contact me at realestate@juliamspencer.com. Also, if you have any additional questions about the show or what I do, or even if you have any show suggestions, you can always send them to me. So let's talk a little bit more about water. This is an interesting topic because we have this huge hurricane sitting out there in the Atlantic, but I wanted to talk a little bit a different topic related to water, and it has to do with pools. And basically, the question came up this week from one of my friends who has a pool, lives up there in Conyers, Georgia, whether or not it's a good idea to purchase real estate with a pool. And I had a really strong opinion on this. And of course, when he purchased this property, I wasn't talking to him then, so I wasn't able to share my opinion. and now he's kind of learning it on his own way. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the issues that you may run into if you're purchasing a property that has a pool, or maybe if you own a property that has a pool already, then you might already know some of these pitfalls that come along with owning a property with a pool. And people get very defensive about this, because having a pool with a real estate is kind of like a status symbol, not just, enjoyment, of course, if you enjoy being in the pool and you spend a lot of time there. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, and I'm glad I can voice my opinion right here on the radio show, the people that live in a house that has a pool don't use that pool very often. And I know this quite well from experience, because I was always looking for a property that had other properties around me where I lived, where the other people had the pools. So I could just go to my neighbors and enjoy the pool, but I wouldn't be responsible for any upkeep. That's kind of like a sneaky way to take care of this problem, but it actually works really well, because the neighbors usually don't mind their neighbors, if they're good neighbors, of course, to come to their pool and hang out, because the pool is being used and isn't just sitting there as a little pretty thing in the backyard, but it's actually being used. So a lot of neighbors actually don't mind. So I've had a lot of use of my neighbor's pool back in Macon when I lived there. And now, of course, I live at a place that has a community pool, which I use quite often. But of course, there's zero maintenance for me. I don't have to worry about any chemicals. I don't have to worry about fishing stuff out in the morning or finding dead rats or snakes or anything else in the filters. Scary things. But let's talk a little bit about some of the disadvantages of having a pool. And I actually, while we were playing this previous song, I actually texted this person that has this pool, my friend Daniel, and he said, please tell the listeners in Savannah it's a really bad idea to buy real estate with pool. But let me just give you a couple of the disadvantages, and then we're going to talk about it from the real estate investor side a little bit more. So, of course, you're going to be spending a lot of time cleaning the pool. Now, if you are a wealthy person and you have a very nice house with a very big pool, you can probably afford to hire somebody to do this for you. That's probably the ideal way. But you need to remember that when you purchase that pool and you want to keep it up, that you factor in the price of that maintenance, hiring that maintenance out to somebody else into your payment that you have every month, and don't slack on it. I mean, if you want to do it yourself and you enjoy doing that every week or every day, checking the pH levels and all that stuff, all the power to you. But I think most of us would much rather enjoy actually being in the pool instead of running around with equipment and trying to take care of it. And, of course, the service that you would usually have to hire to take care of your pool really kind of has to come out every week. And preferably more often if there's a problem, of course. But the regular water treatments, the filter cleanings, literally everything will get into your pool. There's been probably people that have said that they found grocery bags, leaves, bugs, even rats. I've already mentioned rats. It's a scary thing. But you will be spending a lot of time fishing things out and keeping that thing clean. And more than likely, if you have a full-time job or have some other career other than pool cleaning, it's going to be more time spent on cleaning it than actually using it and enjoying it. Also, having a pool, of course, as I just mentioned, costs a lot of money. So let's just talk about installing the pool. The neighbors that I just mentioned that were my neighbors there in Macon, they were the ones that actually put the pool in. And they've told me the story of how they had to have this huge truck somehow maneuver in their small backyard. They had to take the whole fence out so they can even get there with the cement trucks and everything else that was necessary to install this pool. It actually was really, really expensive, $22,000 on average to put in a pool. And the costs actually never end from that point on. Like I said, you have to buy chemicals, acid treatments, new filters, and you could spend $500 a year on chemicals just alone. And that information actually I got from the Wall Street Journal, and I believe it. It's probably more than that. And if you pay a company to maintain your pool, you're looking anywhere from $84 to $127 or more dollars a week. So add that up for the weeks and how many weeks you're actually going to be using that pool, depending on which climate you live in. that adds a pretty hefty tag to your mortgage bill. Next thing, stuff will go wrong. So you need to be prepared to actually repair the pool and replace large ticket items such as the pool pumps, the pool liners, the decks, the screened enclosures if you have them. I mean, all that stuff are large ticket repairs that are not covered by any kind of insurance. You can't really purchase a warranty for that or anything. And you kind of just have to factor that into your cost of that home ownership. The thing is that the primary equipment will eventually need to be replaced again and again. The pump, the small device that filters water, does become a frustration for many pool owners. And if it gets repaired, it might break again, and you might replace it. It could break again. So even all these days that you're just waiting for it to get repaired until the repair person comes out, those are days that you missed actually being able to use your pool. So wouldn't it be, from my thrifty side here as a real estate investor, I would always advocate just take the money and go to a really nice public pool, or even some sort of private pool where you have to purchase access rights or something. The money is much better spent there. Let's talk about insurance. I was already talking about insurance today, but insurance is kind of tricky. When I was growing up, actually, this is true. We've always had really great public pools, and they were supported by the city, of course, paid by the city. The pools that I've learned actually later, public pools that I visited as a child, could never support themselves from the visitors. They had to be supported by the city taxes where I lived. And homeowners insurance, homeowners insurance providers have, at this point, actually cracked down on safety regulations for pools. So not only can you just have a pool in the backyard, they're actually going to require you to put a fence around it that locks, and that's actually the law. And it has to be safe, and somebody has to have the key, and it has to be locked. Because what you don't want to happen is that maybe some small child from the neighbor's yard wanders off into your yard and accidentally falls into your pool and dies because they can't swim. That would be horrific for anybody. That would be just disastrous. So there's laws and rules for that in place, that a homeowner's insurances will make you install certain safety features to be able, so that you can even use the pool. And it makes sense. But in the end, you are going to have to foot the bill. So it's going to be expensive. Last but not least, let's add some more insurance stuff here. If you're going to add like a diving board to your pool, homeowners insurance will definitely look at that as a big safety issue. And let's track back a little bit. When I purchased my first home here in Savannah, the previous owners actually left a trampoline in my backyard. It wasn't my trampoline. I wasn't going to use it. It was already half fallen apart. There was no safety screen around it. It was just a flat little circle thing that was a trampoline. And they literally said, you either remove that trampoline within X amount of days, or we will either cancel your insurance, or we're going to have to double it. Because that's a safety issue. Somebody's kids are going to go on there. You're not going to be home. They're going to break their neck, and we're not liable for that kind of injury. And the same thing with the pool. If you install some sort of diving board or anything else, maybe a slide or whatever, they're going to get you on the homeowner's insurance, because they're not going to be liable for anybody that hurts themselves on anything that could hurt them that could be prevented with safety features. And of course, once you install the safety features, they're going to cost you money. So there you go. And here's one very important thing that I wanted to add, one last thing for these pool owners out there. Your investment in a home, as far as it goes for a pool, you really won't see that money again. This is not money that will come back to you as maybe the value of the house increases. It's not going to go, your house is not going to increase in value if you put a pool in it. It's just not going to. It never works out that way. In fact, most homeowners and real estate investors, when they look at houses to buy with a pool, they kind of avoid those. Of course, big maintenance issue if you're going to live there, but as an investor, even if it's a property that is held to rent to somebody, so it's a rental, no landlord's going to maintain a pool, and they can't really depend on you taking care of it as a tenant, much less that you even know how to do that, and not going to spend the money on it. So it's just frustrating, and it's not very convenient. So frequently I have seen people just fill in the pool, put a little flower bed in it, and be done, because that's the best thing to do with a pool. And quite honestly, I agree, unless you're a real big pool fanatic and you're in that pool 24/7 and you love taking care of that thing, and you have lots of money, of course. So in any case, you won't see that money again. You're better off investing any kind of money that you would be spending on a pool to remodel your kitchen or your bathroom. That's where your return on your money will be the most plentiful if you're going to sell the property again at some point in the future. And this is also confirmed according to the U.S. News and World Report. You're looking at maybe, which they're saying you're looking at maybe only 6% increase in your property value for the money that you spent on that pool. So that's, in terms of recouping the cost of installing a pool, it's really a terrible investment, with the return mainly being from whatever enjoyment you have as a homeowner out of it. And anyways, that was my spill on pools. And hopefully I didn't burst your bubble there. From an investor's perspective, of course, I probably did a little bit. But if you enjoy a pool, you love playing in the water, and you don't have access to a public pool or water here in Savannah and Chatham County, of course, we have Tybee Island, which is great. We have some really good public pools, actually. And maybe that's not necessary. Anyways, thanks for having tuned into Real Estate Real Talk here. We're going to continue our discussion. I'm going to think of something else to talk about here for the last 15 minutes. But in the meantime, I'm going to play you a song, this one from Hearts on Fire by Cut Copy, and I'll be right back after that. That's Hearts on Fire by Cut Copy, and thanks for having tuned back into Real Estate Real Talk with Julia M. Spencer on WRUULP. And we have a hurricane looming out there, so our discussion today was about how to protect your property from hurricanes, and preemptively even how to build properties and what kinds of features to look for in a home so it's protected from a hurricane as much as that's possible. Anyways, if you're in a direct path of a hurricane, isn't much you can do. But some of the risk aversion things that you can do, such as getting flood insurance, was one of the things that I've discussed. And also really getting informed about what your homeowner's insurance covers, checking out your policies. And one other thing I wanted to mention with that is your homeowner's insurance or your flood insurance, depending on which one you can actually check, will also cover some of the losses that you may receive from losing food in your fridge in case there's a prolonged power outage. And what I remember, and again, I probably should bring an insurance person out here to give me the no kidding information, but what I remember is if the county actually declares a state of emergency and there is an evacuation that is mandated, and power is lost for several days and food is lost, that you're actually entitled to a compensation from your insurance company for the food that is lost there. It's a very, very simple, easy process. I've had to do this several times already, and it's for each property, actually. So we had, of course, food in several houses because we have rentals here, Airbnb rentals here in town in Savannah. And you basically just fill out a form, you list the contents of your fridge, and I believe I received something in the order of anywhere from $500 to $1,000 per fridge per house. And of course I had to list what was in it. And they didn't really ask many questions. They didn't question it. I'm sure some people wrote down maybe a few more things that may have not been in the fridge just to get that full compensation. But the insurance companies didn't really question it. And the payment was almost immediate. You got it within like a day or two. And it was just amazing how that worked. And all I can say to that is insurances have come a long way to protect the people. I'm very grateful for them. I know a lot of people don't like them and complain about paying for them, but it's better than it used to be. So with that, I'm actually going to be off the air here in just a few minutes. I just wanted to add one brief thing here. We had some very lively discussion here with another host from another show here, The Box, on his Facebook, actually, not mine. And I was basically, let me just give you the story here, but I was very much criticized for offering my Airbnb rentals here to evacuees that are coming into Georgia from South Carolina, North Carolina, trying to get out of the path of the hurricane. And of course, everybody was offering their spaces for free and air mattresses on the floor. Of course, everybody can crash at my place too, wherever they can fit. But as far as the Airbnb rentals, I do have to charge a fee for them, especially if I'm accepting very large groups of people, families, people with animals, and we have reduced the prices already just so we can accommodate that. But unfortunately, and this is the criticism I get from a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of my subscribers and other people, real estate investors are not a charity. We are in business for profit. Capitalism is the name of the game in this country. That's just the way it is. It's also what made this country great, and I love the United States. But, I mean, if you don't like it, then it just would be civil to just let other people have their opinions, if they like to have their opinions, whichever way, and tolerate each other a little bit more. That would be, of course, a great thing. And always be understanding of other people's opinions and how people are making their living. So that's just a general word out there to everybody, to be more tolerant, be more understanding, be more embracing of each other's opinions and, of course, their background, and never judge a person or try to treat them bad just because you have a set opinion about them. Try to always get to know each other and learn about the other person before you spew out any hate statements. So that's kind of like a general thing. But in any case, we are almost here at the top of the hour. You are listening to WRUULP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. And next up on this show, we actually have a new show hosted by Ben. It's African music. And I will be back here at the station at noon next Wednesday. God willing, everybody stay safe during this hurricane. And my show is from 12:06 p.m. to 1 p.m. every Wednesday. You can also check me out online. My website is juliamspencer.com, same name YouTube channel. And I am going to basically check out here. Hopefully you guys have a great day with Alex Frankel, Negative Space. Have a great Wednesday, everybody.
For your free guide to real estate investing, visit juliamspencer.com.